Hello, today we are going to be going over the newest changes on our latest TMS update. First, we are going to start out with our drivers. So let's go to our list of drivers here. We will open up a driver's profile. As you can see here at the left, there is no longer an advanced tab. So what we have decided to do is merge those advanced transactions into our charges here. So as you can see, now up at the top, you have a new calculation that shows the advance balance as well. These advances are now going to be subtypes of either earnings or deductions. So you now have the similar format of adding then these transactions. So whether it's going to be adding or deducting from that balance, if it is a deduction, we just select our subtype as advanced, then fill out the rest accordingly. And if we need to add to it, we can then select earnings and also select advance. And if we need to increase that number, we can do so as well. Again, if there's going to be anything missing, the system will always provide you with any kind of notification. So the next change that we have regarding our driver charges would be these two columns that you see here. So the first one's going to be reoccurring charge ID, where you will be able to see the ID of that reoccurring charge that was made previously in each of these broken down charges. So as you can see, they're listed in this column. And then in the next column that we have added is going to be the settlement ID, where you can see the settlement ID associated with any of these charges if needed, and then you can sort and filter that accordingly, maybe to help out with some reporting that you may be doing. So the next changes that we have are going to be in regards to our truck section. So if we open up a truck's profile, we will now see this new button here up at the top right that says orders. If we click on it, we will get a new window that's populated with a list of all the orders that were assigned to this specific truck. If we need to filter them by any additional criteria, we can do so as well. And then we have also adjusted the transponder assignment functionality for our trucks and drivers. So it is no longer a requirement to put the transponder number under a driver's profile, because now once you are assigning a driver to a specific truck under their profile, those transactions in terms of the tolls pulling from this transponder number will be assigning them to the truck, but then also to the driver that is matched up with it during that time. So as long as you have the transponder information input in here accordingly, then those transactions will also be matched to this specific driver that is assigned under their truck profile. Now we will get into some additional changes regarding our order setup. So when we go into order planning and select one of our orders, let's pick one of the delivered orders here. Select this one, for example. This first change regarding the order, you will see if you click on the little gear button down at the bottom here. So as you can see, not only are we able to adjust the fields still, we can now actually adjust the visible tabs. So this will be that same functionality. You just check the box that you want to see. So if we're not keeping track of bids or updates, blind shipments, as you can see, those fields are now being removed. So we do not have to then worry about that. An additional change that we have regarding the order will be under accessorials. So if we click on add, we can now add it per hour. So basically an hourly rate. So if we select this, let's say for example, we are doing this for detention, we can type in the amount of hours, the rate that it was charged hourly, click on OK. And as you can see, that calculation is done for you up at the top, and then the comments line is filled with detention. If we need to make any additional notes, we can type in accordingly, and that will save it to whatever we need it to be. One next change that we have regarding our orders will be a big one in terms of movements. So first off, you will now see that this map functionality has been changed. So you no longer have to click on the movement and then open up a new window with the map. We still have the drag and drop functionality in order to change the actual miles calculated if needed. But the biggest change that we have here is we are now separating these movements by whether they are empty or loaded. So as you can see, you will now have additional movements based off if the driver was driving loaded or empty. So this will allow us in the future to create empty moves for a better time and location continuity, which we'll be updating on an upcoming sprint. So that will be rolled out here shortly. One other thing that we have adjusted on this screen as well is you no longer can manually type in your loaded or empty miles here, but we still will be able to adjust that from our settlements page. So obviously, because this change in structure to separating our empty and loaded moves will be a very big factor in how we also generate settlements, which we will now go to our settlements page to kind of show you how that will be set up. So again, same process here, just select our drivers. And as you can see now, you have all of these movements separated by the status in terms of being empty or loaded. So you still see your order IDs, and you will now have these separate IDs for those specific movements. So the functionality will remain the same. You can still, let's say, we wanted to uncheck all of them, and maybe we wanted to include all of these orders here, but not include this last one. So we can check them all and not include just order ID ending in 42. So then we can still process all of these. Basically, you will now be viewing on the settlement the empty and loaded miles as separate lines. This is going to be beneficial for any drivers that are being paid by a total miles pay method, because the empty and loaded miles are being calculated into that one. But let's say you have these drivers that are being paid differently, that are not going by total miles, but they are a flat or a percentage rate, so to say. So you're going to be able to then also remove these empty moves in one of our preferences settings. In terms of also adjusting the distance or gross pay manually, how we had removed from under the movement section on order, you can still do that now under this settlement screen. So as you can see, you can make any adjustments here needed manually, and you will now be able to then adjust the distance, gross pay, and pay method directly from the settlements. So going back to what we were talking about and having drivers that do not want to necessarily see these empty movements on their settlements, what then you will have to do in the tools preferences section, if we go into our accounting tab here, this is bigger, and we go down to the bottom under settlements, we have this checkbox called hide empty move. So basically, when you have this checked, the empty moves will not be shown on a driver settlement. So hopefully this will decrease any confusion that may result from us changing the structure of the settlements to break down the empty and loaded movements as two separate transactions. So no matter if you have this checkbox selected, if you do have a driver, however, on the total miles pay method, it will automatically break those down for him on his settlement. But any other drivers that you do not want to show those empty moves on the actual settlement, you will just need to check this little box here, and they will stay in that same format of just showing the loaded movements. The next change that we have regarding our settlements here is also a small one where we are now able to add the order ID to the settlement. So if you want that visible, you can check or uncheck this box if you do not. While we are still here under our preferences section, a next change that we have made is renaming the federal inspection to be quarterly. Typically, federal inspection was done annually, so now we will only have these three types in terms of annual, planned maintenance, and quarterly inspection. Another change that we have regarding this update will be under reports. So if you scroll down, you will now also be able to see a tolls report for a specific time period selected. If you're looking for specific transponders, if you generate the trucks that you are looking to run the report for, click on calculate. You'll be able to see a total of all the tolls based off of the transponder and truck associated with them. And you'll see a complete history for that time period and those transponders that you had selected. If you don't choose any, it will pull all of them from the system, and you can see them broken down by these columns of information. And the last change that we have in regards to this current update will be with our Telegram functionality. So if you have the Telegram app integrated with your TMS, we will now be able to pull additional information from the order, for example, commodity and weight. So we'll just show you here in order planning. So this will be some additional information pulled from those specific fields that can then be associated with those drivers and sent to them via the Telegram app. So if you have, for example, commodity or weight, and if you do have it integrated, you can then also pull that up on Telegram and see how the formatting and additional information is then input and adjusted. If you guys have any questions regarding this update, just let us know. Thank you.